Dr. Phyllis Collins of DietHobby.com. Some of you know me as the YouTube Grandma. I'm going to show you how to make peach quick bread. And it's not really that quick. I think they use the word quick because you don't have to let it rise. You know, it doesn't have yeast in it, so it rises, because it seems like there's a lot of stuff to put in and it's not that quick. Okay, we're going to start out by blending the dry ingredients together. We'll start out with, I'll tell you first, this is make 16 servings. It's going to be a loaf of bread, 16 servings, 136 calories a piece, 24 net carbs. So it is not a low carb. You could consider it maybe reduced carb because it's reduced sugar and reduced fat, but it's definitely a not a low carb recipe. And protein 3.9 grams. Okay, we start out by turning the oven on to 350, preheating the oven 350 degrees, and we're going to take and spray the loaf pan with non-stick coating so that our bread doesn't stick to it when it's ready. The next thing I said was now we're going to do our dry ingredients. Okay, now we start out with the flour. I'm using this or whole wheat, 100% whole wheat pastry flour because that happens to be what I have. But if you don't want to, if you're going to use pastry flour, you use 2 1/4 cups, just all pastry flour, whole wheat pastry flour. If you're not going to use, that's what I did, I'm just using the whole thing, pastry flour. But if you don't have pastry flour, you can use whole wheat flour and white flour combined, and then you would use 1 1/2 cups of white flour and 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour. Then you're going to add to it 1/4 cup of wheat germ. You know, it's amazing to me how tasty that makes it. Then next thing is we're going to add white sugar, 3/4 cup of regular old-fashioned white sugar. Okay, we're going to stir that up a little bit. And then we're going to add 3/4 cup of Splenda, which is the artificial sweetener. So what we've done is we've reduced our sugar in half. So that's why I said reduced carb. We're using whole wheat flour, more whole wheat flour, less white flour, more sugar. Less sugar, more artificial sugar, but it's not getting rid of it all entirely. So it's just reducing it some. Then we're going to put a teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that's the dry ingredients, and we're mixing those together. I like to use a whisk to get this stuff together. Some of you are new to my website or new to my channel, my YouTube channel. So I have 50 cooking recipes already that are diet, low calorie, low carb, reduced carb. And what you might want to do is go through there and see if there's something that you would like to make. Because I'm gonna keep adding. My plan is to keep adding like 1 a week or so, and then we'll stock up a big selection of low calorie, low carb recipes. The other thing that I have online that I really, besides the Ask Grandma, is I really like these really short, little tiny motivational sayings. They're 15 to 30 seconds long. And I have over 100 of those. And those are really helpful to get you to think positively. When you're dieting, you really need to think positively. When you're, you need to think positively to feel good no matter what you're doing. Okay, so now we've got the dry ingredients ready. We're going to mix the wet ingredients. So the wet ingredients, we're going to take yogurt, 1/2 cup of plain yogurt. Now I use the 0% Fida Greek yogurt because I love it. I just love it so. You can't even make me eat the other kind of yogurt anymore because I like this kind so good. Then, let's see, eggs. Okay, now we have 1 whole egg, and I've already buzzed this up in the magic bullet to make it easy to mix. And 1 and 2 egg whites on top of that. So 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites. And that's added to our wet ingredients. Okay. Then we're going to have oil, but only 2 tablespoons of oil, not a 1/4 of a cup or a 1/2 a cup or a whole cup like so many of the breads have. This is only 2 tablespoons of oil. Yeah, it's whisk. Okay, so we're adding the 2 tablespoons of oil. Now the last thing that I add, I really think this next to the last thing, it really makes this tasty is almond extract. It has this nicest little flavor. And so you add a teaspoon of almond extract in here. And you're going to stir this all together. You get all your wet ingredients mixed, and then you have your dry ingredients mixed. Okay, then you're going to make kind of a well in the center of your dry ingredients, and you're going to pour the wet ingredients into the center of the dry ingredients, kind of a well, and then you're going to mix this. Now you don't want to over mix. You're just barely, just going to get it all moistened and mixed. You don't want it to be, and I don't know why, I think it has something to do with the gluten or whatever, I don't even know what gluten is, but it's part of the wheat. I know that lots of people don't want to eat it, but I just got a book on my Kindle that I'm reading. I'm only on chapter 3, called Wheat Belly, and it's talking about how the new wheat is been changed so much from the wheat of 50 years ago and it's not good for human beings and stuff. And I don't know, I'm only on chapter 3, but it's going to really have to be a convincing argument for me not to have wheat. Because I just love this bread. I like all kinds of bread, of course. And maybe that is one of the reasons I have so much trouble with my weight. And, maybe they're right. The guy who wrote it, it's very interesting, and I enjoy reading it. I like reading a lot of different diet books and things about nutrition. I don't necessarily do all of them, but I like knowing about it. This takes a while. I'll show you. See if I can show you as I stir it. I'm just trying to, and you can't really do this in a mixer because then you'd be over mixing. So you have to do it by hand. And I probably should just put the camera on pause and come back when it's all stirred up. But I always feel like I'm so close to done that it's going to be okay. Okay, I think that's getting out. Now the last thing we do is we add peaches. Now, it's a saying you can do 2 fresh peaches and blanch them in the hot water and cut them up. I usually just buy frozen, sliced, unsweetened peaches, and then I'll cut them up, and I'll cut them up with a knife while they're still frozen, or I'll get those little shears, those little scissors, kitchen shears, and cut them up until I have little pieces like this, and it's about a cupful. 2 peaches, it's about 1 cup. So, and then I just pour them in, and you just gently blend these into the dough, because you don't want to overmix, and you don't want to get them all smashed and everything. You want kind of peach chunks all through your peach bread. So I'm having a tough time kind of with my right hand is still only 80% recovered, my wrist from the broken wrist I had. So I'm working I'm way better. Look, I can hold on, but it maybe looks kind of awkward, or maybe I'm just self-conscious because I can't do what I'm not able to do the way that I did before I broke my wrist. But it's getting the job done. I'm afraid this is going to be a little longer video than I intended because I've never done this in camera, and I didn't know how long it was going to take to stir up this sticky mess. Okay, we got it. All right, now I've already sprayed the nonstick coating here. So what I'm gonna have to hug this to me because my wrist won't allow me to hold it the other way. And we're just gonna spoon out into this loaf pan the bread batter. light enough I can hold with my regular hand. And we'll just put it down, kind of smooth it all out with a spoon, kind of smooth it down so it isn't too uneven when it bakes. And we're just going to bake it for about an hour until until a toothpick would come out. A toothpick would come out without being all covered with sticky stuff. You know, where the toothpick comes out and the center comes out clean. Okay. Now I'm going to have to count that calorie. Okay, in the oven it goes. Well, I'm going to get the air holes. I do this, kind of gets the air holes down. Okay, and I'll put this in for 1 hour or until a toothpick comes out clean. And then I'll come back and we'll look at it together and see how it turned out. Here it is, the bread, Peach Quick Bread. We're going to cut this into 16 servings. Each piece is 136 calories. So how we would cut this into 16 pieces is first, it's really hard to cut the thin slices. So first, I cut this way down, or I could do it second, whatever. Anyway, that's how I do it. Cut it this way. Then I cut it in half again. That's fourths. Okay, so there's the 4. Okay, then I want to cut it in 16. So, I'm trying to think of, yeah, that makes 8. Never was a math genius. And then now, this will make 16. Each one of these pieces is 136 calories. If you consider that it's 136 calories for this little piece of the reduced calorie, you can imagine how many calories are in these other things that you would buy. Okay, so here is how it looks. I'm going to take one of these pieces right here to take a picture of it. Okay, and this is how it looks. All right, and I'll have to tell you how it tastes. It tastes just the way I remember. It's sweet, it's peachy, it has just a little hint of almond flavoring, and the wheat germ, I don't know, there's just something about that makes it really, really good. It's it feels really wholesome, it feels really good, and I like it. So if you want the recipe, it's on my website, diethobby.com. It'll be all written out there, the video will be there, the recipe is there, and a picture of the food is there. So if you're gonna make it, come there and get the recipe before you do it, because I make mistakes in ingredients sometimes verbally.